Hello again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Talk About here on Shaw TV. My name is John Twigg, and we've got another great show for you today. Our guest is Michele Babchuk, Chair of the School District 72. Thanks, Michele, for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
First question is a hot one, the weather.
The weather, that's a cold one, John.
Well, requests for quotations for snow plowing here, and you were telling me before we went on air that Courtney had to close some schools. We seem to be all right, but how is the weather affecting things?
We seem to be fine at this point. The roads have stayed passable here. I'm not sure why Courtney had to shut down that day, whether it was the snowfall pack or whether it was ice or rain. But we seem to be doing things here. Kids are getting educated every day, and we haven't had to do that yet.
And the classrooms are warm, I trust?
Well, we certainly hope so. Yes.
Well, that's a kind of a curveball entry into the finances of the school district because, and we'll hopefully get into some detail on that. But the School District 72, which runs from Oyster River to Sayward and over to Cortez, spends $663,000 a year on heating costs.
That's correct.
Now,
electrical costs, yeah.
Can you elaborate on some of that, or because Vancouver and some other school districts, I think, were trying to get a break on it, and the provincial government said no.
Yeah, well, that was done through our parent organization, the BCSTA, and there was a petition that went out to Energy Minister Bill Bennett, who has now denied that school districts will not be getting any reduced rates. It's a 28% hike over 5 years, as we've heard in the media. That's going to mean about $103,000 to us over the next 2 years.
That'll be $1 million a year within 4 years, roughly?
Well, it's hard to project out that far because things are changing,
Yes,
but right
true.
now, if we're projecting over the next 2 years, it's about another $103,000.
Yeah.
We've already done a whole bunch of initiatives in the school district. It's part of our current strategic plan to look at our environmental ethic. We've gone through a whole bunch of energy reduction plans. We've done a lot of our lighting, all of that. We actually just received an award through the UBCM not too long ago because our district, since 2009, has saved $193,000 because of all the upgrades we've done.
Is this including solar panels?
I'm not aware of solar panels per se being part of that, but it is part of, lighting infrastructure and going to the energy efficient bulbs and, just looking at all of those different infrastructures in the schools.
Yeah. Now, the provincial government, when it was Gordon Campbell, brought in a carbon tax and some special taxes, which frankly are hard to summarize. But the proceeds from those were going from schools and hospitals to oil and gas exploration. But is that included in the $663,000, or is that a separate item?
Do you know what? I don't know if that's included. At this point, I just know that our energy costs are $663,000 a year.
So they're big and getting bigger.
They're going to continue to grow. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned in there part of your strategic plan, and I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know a lot about it. Let's tell me and the viewers what's going on.
So currently, our strategic plan has 3 main pillars. It's to increase student success, to increase community engagement, and also to expand our environmental ethic. We're going to talk later about a couple of new programs that we have that show some of the increased community connections. We're working a lot with the cities now with just different projects that are going forward, having those communications, which I think I think they're great for the community as a whole.
Yeah.
The environmental ethic we are taking a look at with, like I said, all of those lighting infrastructures. We work with the city with recycling programs, all that stuff. And then encouraging the student success, that's something that we strive for all the time as a school district.
I just had a brainwave.
You had a brainwave.
They happen, folks. Maybe we could get the students helping out on the compost center that the mayor doesn't want to have and the rest of the council does.
Well, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how your brainwave takes shape.
Troublemaker, for a long time. But the consultation, what's involved with does the public have an opportunity to input?
Yes, because we're actually going into our new strategic plan, which will be for a 5-year period.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've already had one community consultation piece that we did at Timberline. We've gone through a thought stream process. We've had over 400 people.
What's a thought stream process?
Thought stream process is an online opportunity for people to engage in that. That is closed right now. We're starting to compile all of the information from there. We've had over 400 people join in on those two processes, and we have about 4,000 different comments throughout the two processes that we're sort of collaborating.
Who distills all those?
Our senior management team right now is taking a look at them, categorizing them, distilling them, so they can bring them back to the board to see if there's any common themes that the community would like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will there be a public meeting or some kind or a process at the end?
Well, what we'll do is we'll see what comes out of it first and see which direction we need to sort of look at, and then we will take a look at what we need to stream out. And certainly, that's one of our big pieces is community consultation and engaging the public.
Yeah. You mentioned the senior staff. One of the places I wanted to go was the demographics of the student population and the city population changing, the number of schools, but also the demographics of the teachers and the staff. That's a big question. Can you fill us in where you start, wherever you like?
Well, just on a higher level, I mean, I don't have specific numbers for you.
You don't need specific
but
numbers.
currently we're the largest employer in town. You didn't know that?
No.
No, we are the largest employer in town. We have about 900 employees throughout our system, be them teachers or janitors or bus drivers or senior management team. We contribute a lot to the community with those people. About 90% of our employees live and work in town as well. So I administer about a $50 million budget, and a lot of that, stays in town and works its way through all of our stores and everything. So I mean, as a community partner, we're a very large piece of that pie.
What's the age distribution of these teachers and the staff? Roughly, I know you.
Well, roughly we're getting on to a large portion of the teachers, like every other industry right now. All of our staff are at the later end of that bubble.
Yeah, I know some that have just recently retired. In fact, the teachers that taught my kids are retiring now, and that wasn't that long ago.
No, but we are starting to get there, and we are seeing new teachers come out of the universities. We're trying to grab all the best ones that we can. We have our HR people out and looking and making sure that we bring the best back to here.
How do you attract them?
Well, part of the reason that they want to come here is because of the lifestyle that they can afford here. I mean, we live in an absolutely spectacular town. We have
so it's not
winter,
the biggest
summer.
pay maybe, but it's the nicest affordability.
Well, we try very hard to keep ours, pay scale the same as all of the other school districts. We work through our BCPC, which is, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Oh, go for it. What's a BC Public Sector
Employees Association.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they do a lot of, they did a lot of work with all of the grids for staff, and then of course a lot of our bargaining through CUPE and through the teachers, which has now changed, of course.
Well, I was just going to say, that is there going to be province-wide bargaining now, or are we going back to district? Where do we stand there?
Well, it's sort of up in the air right now, John, to tell you the honest truth. Legislation says that BCPC still has the right to bargain, but as we all know in the media, the government of the day has fired the BCPC board and put in its own person, and the government right now is dealing directly with teachers, and they did do the provincial bargaining with CUPE.
I want to get back to the minister, but just a bit more on the demographics. What's the gender breakdown amongst the teachers now?
I can't answer that for you. I have no idea, to tell you the honest truth. We try very hard to reach a parity, right? But we're more focused on making sure that we've got the right educator in front of the right kids at this point.
It's not like political parties that say we got to have a woman. We got to have the best teacher.
Yeah, we have to have the best teacher. If we want the best education in the world, then we got to make sure that we've got the teachers that can teach the high school students, and that's where their strengths are, in front of the high school students.
Right. That's a great segue to the minister's visit. And he was here on November 29th?
28th and 29th.
28th and 29th. Peter Fassbender.
Peter Fassbender, yeah.
Now, for those who don't know, Peter Fassbender is a very successful municipal politician, I think
Yes.
from Langley.
Mhm.
And even though it looked like the Liberals were going to lose, he jumped onto the Liberal Party and was a key factor, I think, in getting them elected. And now he's Minister of Education,
Yes.
and he's, would it be fair to say, making waves?
I don't know about making waves. He is a very blunt minister.
Really?
We know exactly where we stand.
Uh-huh.
With that being said, sometimes we don't particularly like the message that's being given, but like I said, we know it's being given. It's
Yeah.
very, very transparent. He is
the
not
minister.
holding. He is the minister, and he's not
Yeah.
holding anything back.
Yeah.
We were very happy to have him here. He was here on the 28th.
You invited him here.
We did invite him here. Yes, we haven't had a minister in our riding or our district for a while,
Yeah.
so we invited him here to talk about some of the challenges and the successes that we have
Yeah.
at our local level here.
Yeah.
And he was quite happy to come, and he was
Staying
here.
overnight, too.
Yeah, he was here on the 28th. He met with the board for 2 hours in the afternoon on the 28th, and then was with our forestry students at Kerry High on the 29th.
We'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
The meeting with the board, I'd be interested to know, as a political journalist, was it a two-way, or was it mostly one-way, or
No,
who
it was two-way. It was
And-
two-way. We were able to give him a snapshot of what our district
Yeah.
looked like,
Yeah,
and then be able to have a conversation with him about some of the challenges that we're having,
Yeah.
be it BC Hydro ferries, which are obviously very topical
Yeah.
right now,
yeah,
to some of the challenges we have with some of the downloaded provincial contract negotiation payments, MSPs
yeah.
going
Let's
up,
stop there for
premium.
the downloaded contract payments.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, it was the provincial contract, of course, that QP was going through, which I can't actually speak too much about right now because QP is in its ratification period
Oh,
and is
okay.
ratifying on Saturday.
That's fair.
And we ourselves don't have any of the, we had to submit a savings plan to PSEC, which is the Public Sector Employers Council,
Yeah.
to prove how we were going to pay for it in the long term. And that hasn't been approved yet.
But
so
basically,
I
the
can't,
province came along and said, here's your new settlement, find a way to pay for it?
yes, essentially
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
And we've been told time and time again by the minister that yes, money is tight. It's
Yeah.
very tight.
Yeah.
They're hoping that with their initiatives coming down the pipe that, the money will become more free flowing
Yeah.
over the next few years, but
Yeah.
there is no promises there either.
What was the outcome of the meeting with the minister? Like, did he go away with a new light bulb, or did you understand that, well, I guess we've got to live with it, or,
I think one of the things that he made very clear, like I said, is the money right now is the money. I mean,
Yeah.
we've heard that for years through a myriad of ministers,
it
actually.
seems to vary according
Yeah.
to elections, but
Right.
we won't go
But
there.
yeah, but one of the things that he did let us know is that the ministry itself has taken a look at our school district. They are happy with the leadership that's happening here.
Yeah.
They are happy with the consultation that we're doing and how it's
Yeah.
coming down the pipe.
That suggests,
although
I'm sorry
we-
to cut in, but
Yeah.
that suggests to me that School District 72, they've analyzed a lot of the statistical indicators,
Mm-hmm.
probably more than I'd ever understand, and Campbell River looks good. Is that?
I think so. I think there's been a balance, in my opinion, in this school district where we've been able to move ahead with some of the stuff that may be a little bit difficult to do, but on the same token, be able to advocate at a provincial level for the stuff that we feel needs to
Yeah.
be done. Right?
Learning outcomes, that's
Yes.
one of your three pillars in
Yes.
this consultation that's coming.
Yes.
Have those improved noticeably over the last, say, 5-10 years?
I think there's areas that they have.
Yeah.
We're seeing some real success in our First Nations graduation rates, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing some of these programs, like we're going to talk about later.
Let's do it now.
Right, let's do it now. Okay. So with
we
the
have
forestry
the forestry one, and then there's something called Drive.
Yes.
Digital recording, integrated video, and English at Kerry High. And that happens right here in this studio,
Yes.
fascinating
Yes.
thing. What? Anyway, maybe talk a bit about the principle and then the two projects.
Okay, so these projects are projects that we're looking at for personalized learning. It's an initiative that the government has been bringing down for a few years. It's to get the students engaged, but at a high level where there's still expectations and stuff they can own. So the DRIVE program is, like I said, in the studio here. It is part of our strategic plan because it deals with our community partnerships, which we're very happy to have with Shaw. They then get 4 credits. They're a mixed group of grade 10, 11, and 12s. They come and do their thing. They get 4 credits for video productions and 4 credits for English. So there's curriculum involved. There's also the applied piece that allows them to put their hands on it, you know, really take some ownership in what they're doing. And we find kids are just excelling. They're loving that.
There's a precedent in this studio. Years ago, and again now, we had volunteers on the cameras, and some of those were students, and they learned to record shows. Some of those people have gone on to great careers in Ottawa journalism and things like that, in Toronto film and such. And that's an example. Now, the forestry is an example. You know, somebody learning through in grade 11 or 12 that they really like working in forestry. You know, they can then go to university. But they might find by the work experience, oh, it's not for me. They want to work in animals or farming or who knows.
That's right. And that was a collaboration between the Truck Loggers Association, Western Forest Products, Timber West, and the Ministry of Lands and Forests.
And that was put together just when?
This is not that long ago. The Truck Loggers Association and I believe Timber West got together and did some a fundraiser, I believe, to get a little bit of seed money, pardon the pun, forestry.
I missed it.
Yeah, to get that up and going. And we have kids there that are, I mean, they are, I'm not sure how many are in the class actually,
20,
but it's 11
40?
and 12.
Yeah.
I'm not sure to tell you. It's the first year off the ground. I'm not sure how big they made it or how small they made it to make sure that it was successful.
And those things vary anyway.
But those kids now get credit for forestry, which is their applied. They also get credits for resource sustainability, which is a social science, which is a science. So they also are getting the 8 credits, which are towards their graduation. So curriculum built in, academic standards built in. They have precedent that they have to work towards.
Can you think of any other industries around that might want to also co-venture with the school district on internships or? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that we're working with or talking about, but I do know that, I mean, in cooperation with North Island College, which we work very closely with, I mean, there's lots of interest in, we have a fish farming industry that's around here. I'm thinking home care.
Well, I mean.
You know, one of the big problems in the health funding is elderly people can't stay at home, so they go into institutions and cost huge amounts of money. And one of the reasons that home care costs is because they're unionized workers. They're great. I've had experience with them. But they need to go in pairs, otherwise they throw their backs out. So I come up with the idea, another brainwave, that why don't we get interns, apprentices, apprentice home care workers. And I didn't think, well, where would we get them? And in the sitting here, it just occurred to me, we could get them in the high schools.
Right. Well, you know, we have to be careful with some of the issues. I mean, with the forestry program, there's some occupational health and safety issues that we have to be very careful with as well.
So, leave a kid without a hand.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're diligent when we're trying to get these up and going, that we make sure that there is academic pluses for the kids. But, I mean.
One of the things we probably run out of time for, but like the future of education, and you might also say, the future of employment. It's increasingly a challenge to create jobs. And I'm wondering, is the school district or the education ministry moving in that direction?
Well, we hear a lot that the ministry is looking at skills training and labor. A lot of the technical trades right now are big front and center, not just provincially, but with the government federally. So they're seeing that there is a shortfall of people coming through the system. Right now in Campbell River, it's not a matter of having the jobs. I mean, the jobs seem to be all in northern Alberta.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of our men that are WestJet families. We graciously refer to them as, and that are coming. I mean, their families are still here. Their children are still going to school here, but they're flying back and forth because that's where the jobs are.
Yeah.
So I think the piece is getting the jobs back here, right?
Now, metalworking, when I was a kid, you could go to woodworking or metalworking. Do we still have?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we still have those. Yeah.
But how about? Well, actually, I know there's a program out at the airport where I think that's North Island College. But one of the biggest things industry needs is mechanics. Engine maintenance, and could that be taught? Is that being taught?
Well, I think probably at a very lower level.
Yeah.
So, but those are all the things that we're taking a look at to see if we can improve on. Right?
So if people like me want to say, well, why don't you do that? You can join this strategic plan consultation process.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
the deadline's over online.
On that one, yeah. But when we have those discussions again, we can certainly take a look.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Couple of jump around things here a bit. I like this story. SD72 gets input from students. And
yes.
What a concept. Tell us about that.
This was absolutely fantastic. It was at our last board meeting, and our last board meeting or the one before, I can't remember, where in the strategic planning process, we are trying very hard to remember who exactly it is we're serving.
Yes.
So at the Timberline forum that we had a group of students there from Student Voice who sat in, that gave us their opinions, did a little bit of a talk there, which was absolutely fantastic. I am amazed at how differently an answer is for one question from the different groups as we're talking around a table, which is great consultation.
How did the students react? I mean, did they turn out in droves or just a few? Or?
Well, actually, the students that they're talking about in there, I believe, are younger students.
Oh.
And we had the kids that came to the thing at Timberline, and then another group of high school students, and then we did it through the middle schools with a group of students from both schools, and then also I believe it was 6 elementary schools provided us with some kids that we brought up to the school board office that they sort of chewed down and said, what is it that you would like to do? And at the school board meeting, all 3 of those levels came and told us exactly what they're looking for. They are looking for hands-on engagement. They don't want to be talked to sitting in a desk, is what we heard very loud and clear.
Yeah.
And they were very articulate, and man, they came up with some really good stuff.
So is there a good chance that's going to get implemented?
Well, we're trying with the drive and the forestry programs, right? That's how we have a different child to educate today than we did 20 years ago.
That's a great segue to one of the topics I wanted to get to, special ed costs. Now, when I'm a little bit older than you, but when we went to school, we did not have special ed students in the class, but now we do, plus there's teaching assistants, but the cost effectiveness and viability, the size of the classrooms, there's lots of issues. What's your perspective?
Well, in this district, we work very much on an inclusion model. And an inclusion model where they are participating at some level, right? Not just to say they're included because they're sitting in the back of the class with a DA, right? Excuse me. But we talked to the minister a lot about that as well when he was here.
What was some of the detail?
Well, we have the way that they're funded is by category and depending on what needs they have. We have kids though that don't quite fit into those, but they still need help. Right? So the actual funding that we get from the ministry, we get a certain amount of funding that comes categorized, and then we get another amount that's included into what they call the block funding, which is our per pupil funding. But to date, because we are identifying more kids, we have more children that are doing the personalized learning, more children that may not be categorized but have the individual education programs. We usually have to bring it up more than what we get funded for.
What's the supply demand of, I don't know, do you call them learning assistants, teachers' aides? The staff that help the special needs students?
In regards,
Well, are there enough of them? Do we need more money for more of them, or are they splitting two trying to do one trying to do two jobs?
well, I guess it depends on how you allocate your resources,
Yeah.
right? So if we got more money, it's a matter of sitting down and trying to figure out, is it better just to plunk more people in with them?
Yeah,
And that might be the answer.
yeah,
Or is it better to take the people that are there and try to facilitate some other resource for them?
yeah.
So I don't know that it's as simple as just saying,
Yeah.
okay, we need more money and we're
Yeah.
gonna put a body in front of
Yeah.
these kids, right?
Now, in other school districts, there's been some issues in the news lately about having quiet rooms or, locking a misbehaving kid in a room.
Yes.
Do we do that here?
Uh,
Not that
No.
you're aware of?
No,
Not officially
No,
sanctioned
no.
by the school board?
I mean, we certainly have, because we do have inclusive classrooms,
Yeah.
right? And every child is entitled to an education.
Yeah,
We certainly do have, some kids in the school district that lash out every once in a while, but
Yeah.
we generally have routine plans that
Yeah.
are inset for them.
I just had
Locking them up
I had a
individually in a room
flashback
is
to
not
John Young. Did you go to school under him?
No, I didn't, but
Oh.
I did serve as a trustee with him when he was a
Yeah,
trustee in School
yeah,
District 61.
Quite a fellow.
Yes.
Time's getting tight.
Mm-hmm.
Grant from the CEP.
Yes, absolutely fantastic, and I got to give a plug out to them. This is Communication, Energy, and Paper Workers, Local 630, who was one of the locals at our mill when it was up and running, who now has dissolved their union because there is no membership left, of course, because the mill is
Yeah.
not there anymore.
Yeah.
Who just gave us $50,000 for bursaries, which is the largest contribution to bursaries we've ever had in the school district, which is absolutely fantastic for them to realize that this is going to affect kids' futures.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
And now you got 30 seconds to talk about the future of education in BC.
30 seconds, wow.
I don't think we can do it.
Yeah, the
Well, is
reality.
there something I missed that you
Well,
wanted to emphasize?
The reality for me is, I don't know what the future of education is. We're in a period right now where everything is up in the air. The minister told us here that he wasn't going to be changing the legislation in the spring, and the only thing that he might open the School Act for would be to change our locally elected time from 3 years to 4 years.
How do you feel about that?
I think
We
I think
gotta
there's
go
a
with it.
learning curve
Yeah,
with that,
yeah.
and I think that's a really long topic all on its own.
Yeah.
But I think it's an expensive process, the election process,
Yeah.
and as long as we stay with the municipal
Yeah.
stuff, I think it's doable.
Good.
Yeah.
Great place to end.
Yeah.
Our guest has been Michele Babchuk. Thank you,
Yeah.
Michele, for
Thanks.
coming in. She's the chair, not chairman, of the School District 72, which runs from Oyster River to Sayward. So
Yeah.
thanks again. Thank you, volunteers. Thank you,
Yes.
Marjorie. Thank you, Chaz. Thank you, Shaw. Thank you,
Yeah.
viewers. Talk About will be back in January, and have a good holiday season.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, too.